Hey everyone, welcome to the first match of Temur Snow Control. Today we're going to be playing Merfolk. Opening hand is alright. We don't know what we're playing yet. At least I didn't know what I was playing back when this match actually happened. But we have removal, we have a threat, we have Cryptic Command, which will eventually be castable. Our opponent plays a Flooded Strand. End of turn, we go for an island, keeping it safe. Wooded Foothills is good enough. We'll get a forest, snow-covered forest, end of turn if our opponent doesn't do anything important. Watery Grave, interesting. Island. Alright. So we know that we are playing Merfolk. Master of the Pearl Trident. We will play our Ice-Fang Quaddle. End of turn. Draw a card. We draw another land. I think another land is okay. We are playing control here. So we want as much land as we need to be able to cast spells and do more than one thing every turn. We'll attack in. They can't block, and even if they could, I don't think they would. Now we have 3 lightning bolts in hand, so although we can't cast all 3 at the same time, we can, and most likely will, kill one of their Merfolk this turn. I'm going to wait until our opponent actually attacks in, and then I'll kill one of their lords. We draw a remand, which is great. Now, I should have fetched for a Steam Vents instead of a mountain. This way we could have had the 3 blue necessary to cast Cryptic Command, which is a bit of a mistake on my part, but we do have ample removal. Not really concerned right now. We drew our man, which is great. Muddle the Mixture. Interesting to play main deck, but I guess in this meta, that's understandable. Now we're going to remand it just to see what we can draw, but Muddle the Mixture is going to resolve again since they had the mana to do it. That's fine. We did get Misty Rainforest, which means we can go get an island now and have Cryptic Command mana. So I'm happy with that. We draw another island, so we're kind of flooding here. I would prefer drawing a threat or a finisher at this point. I don't think we're gonna whittle our opponent down one damage at a time for very long. But there's no rush to remove Master of the Pearl Trident just yet. I'd rather see what our opponent's gonna be doing. Mutavault is interesting. So Lord of Atlantis. It would make sense here to counter the Lord and draw, and then we can remove the Master of the Pearl Trident as well. Or technically we could remove Mutavault and short them on a land, but generally speaking you want to target the Lords. So we drew another island. We only have 6 in the deck, so we've already seen 5 of them. We will kill Master of the Pearl Trident. And we draw Blood Moon. This is going to be interesting because now Mutavault goes bye-bye. They still have access to 3 blue, so they're going to be able to cast all of their Merfolk. But the Mutavault plan turns off. Not 100% sure why our opponent wasted the time in activating Mutavault here. They're not going to be able to block our creature. I guess they're just going through the motions in case they needed the mana, so I guess I can respect that, but no, it's just going to resolve, and that's that. Dismember, I see why. Alright, that's fair. So they're going to dismember our Ice-Fang. We'll have no choice but to let that go. I think our opponent is just dealing with the Xmage interface here, but there we go. They're only going to pay 2 life. So be it. Taking its time. So this is some of the things. So the version of Temur Snow Control that I'm playing right now is slightly dated, or at least the version that I'm playing in this video is slightly dated compared to the one that I'm playing now. Only because I increased the amount of threats that I have in the deck by 2, just to have more finishers, because I found that oftentimes I'd be in control of the board, but it would just be too slow, and I needed more ways to kill our opponent. I think our opponent here is realizing that Mutavault is not going to be a creature ever, as long as Blood Moon is on the battlefield. So they're going to boomerang our Blood Moon, which is interesting. Our opponent seems to be playing some sideboard cards in their main deck, but that's fine. Come in for 2. We're going to cast Blood Moon next turn. We really flooded on lands here, and we only have 22 in the deck, so this is really unfortunate. Luckily our opponent is not drawing into more creatures, presumably. But it's kind of brutal. So Jace comes down, definitely. Not even going to bother trying to control what's on top of our opponent's deck. We need to draw into answers ASAP. Alright. Archmage's Charm is good. Opt. That's kind of redundant here. Unfortunately, we don't have mana to cast Archmage's Charm, but we will this turn. I should have run Opt there just to get rid of that second charm. I don't think we really need it, but it is what it is. So we get a Force of Negation, which is probably useless at this point. Would have been useful earlier on. We do get Arkham's Astrolabe. Play it, draw. It's a weird interaction, but it is what it is. Lord of Atlantis is going to get countered. That's a guarantee. They're going to Force of Negation our Archmage's Charm. So this is a spicy Merfolk deck. It seems like they're really ready to play against control. But we're ready for them as well. Gotta respect control. We usually out-counter you. So that Force of Negation ended up being quite useful. Again, we're going to look at the top, we're going to draw the top 3 using Jace's 0 ability. We really want to get into our finishers. Those are some of them. Cryptic Command is a bit more useful here. End of turn, we'll cast Ice-Fang. We can Lightning Bolt a creature. But we can also just counter it. Kind of overpaid. That's just lag in... Typical lag in Xmage, but it's okay. We have enough mana to recover. And yet again, Jace's 0 ability. We draw into more counter spells. Not really what we wanted to see. But it's fine, we'll go in, ping him for 1, end the turn. So as you can see, this is pretty painful. I mean, our opponent is not going to cast anything, that's for sure. We have a sleuth of counter spells, but at the same time, it's just very slow to finish them off. I know that's what control does, but it was a bit too slow for my liking. We're going to attack in. Use Jace's ability again. Oh boy. More land. So much land. At this point, it just makes sense to get rid of our Arkham's Astrolabe. And by get rid, I mean cast it. So this is the slow kill. We will not let this resolve. Looks like I was thinking what I really want to do, so it looks like I wanted to use Archmage's Charm, but no. Cryptic Command makes the most sense. More lands. It's really brutal. It really is brutal. What we can do now, at the very least, is draw the top 3. Oh, we finally get Uro and Huntmaster. That's perfect. Those are our finishers. No need to rush into Uro because we do want counter spell mana up. Aether Vial, we'll definitely let that, yeah, I guess, why not? So our opponent is trying to looks like our opponent is going for a card in their sideboard, but we have counter mana, so I'm sure our opponent is fed up, and yes, they are. So that was a win. We definitely had them in a lock. It took too much time, in my opinion, to draw into our threats or our finishers, and we drew way too many lands, but again, that's just how Magic is sometimes. So what are we taking out? What are we bringing in? Some more creature removal, some more board wipe removal, so Anger of the Gods in this case. Cindervines to get rid of their Aether Vials. That's pretty much it. Force of Negation is kind of useful here because they're running their own set. But at the end of the day, all we really care about is killing their creatures. So as long as we have enough redundancy in creature removal, it should be sufficient. I do agree that Magmatic Sinkhole was a bit much. There's so many other removal options. This opening hand is, yeah, it's too slow. Way too slow. This hand is not that much better. This hand is doable. It's doable because we have removal, we have Blood Moon, we have Uro. We gotta get rid of something though. And the only thing we can really get rid of is those two because we need the rest. So let's see how this goes. Relic of Progenitus, alright. That will make Uro hard to escape, but It's not the complete end of the world. Alright. End of turn, probably go for a Steam Vents. Or I suppose a Stomping Ground. Or I could just go for a Mountain. Let's see what I choose. Yeah, I think Stomping Ground gets us our green and our red. We already have blue. We'll remove their Master of the Pearl Trident, and that's it. Alright, that's good. Aether Vial is going to resolve. Next turn we could cast Blood Moon, but then we lose green, but we'll see how it goes. This is tricky because, you know, do I want to hurt myself early on? So they're boomeranging our Stomping Ground, which is hilarious. I guess I can respect that move. Kind of threw me in a tussle here because I wasn't expecting that. So I went for a Mountain. Let's see what we draw. We draw Wooded Foothills. So this is it. So we really wanted to secure green if we were going to get Blood Moon down early. Next turn we will put Blood Moon down because now I can get green and I have double blue, so I'm pretty safe. But yeah, that was going to be an awkward play either way. So our opponent's making sure our library remains empty. That's fair. We get our forest. Now, we draw another land. It's really not what I wanted to see, honestly. But I think at this point, rushing a Blood Moon makes the most sense. They have Aether Vial, so they can vial in creatures. We can let that pass because we have Anger of the Gods, which we could cast next turn and hopefully kill everything. If they cast two lords this turn, though, it's gonna be a problem. Luckily, they don't, and that means we get to cause some serious damage. Echoing Truth. All right, so we gotta prepare for Echoing Truth next turn. I have no choice but to take the 3 here. Anger of the Gods makes sense now. And there we go. So they're probably going to Echoing Truth our Blood Moon, but we just kill 2 of their lords. And they're running low on threats, I'm assuming, in their hand. They cast another Aether Vial, so be it. Probably gonna... Alright. Not gonna do Echoing Truth. We do draw Archmage's Charm, so that's great. We can counter a spell that they cast, but they do have 2 Aether Vials now, so this is a bit of a problem. The only thing going for us right now is that they're running very low on actual cards in hand. So they have a 1/4 on the battlefield. We draw more land. Been pretty unlucky with land draws. They finally pop Relic of Progenitus. I'm assuming they had no choice there. They really need to draw into their threats, and that makes sense. So let's see what our opponent has. 4 cards in hand. One of them is an Echoing Truth. Alright, one was a land, one is Spreading Seas. Really not drawing either. So I guess this is in both of our, at least in my favor. Because, yeah. So I decide to counter their Spreading Seas. It's in our favor because we're also just drawing no gas. We're just drawing lands, which is brutal. Let's see how our opponent responds to this. I really didn't want him to draw a card, and that's why I was pretty aggressive on that. Or else I would have just let it resolve, honestly. They were going to target our force, which I guess is a problem. So we have that out of redundancy. Huntmaster of the Fells comes down. At least we didn't have to wait 20 turns to get it. Close though. So now with Huntmaster on the battlefield, assuming they don't have a Dismember or something, this is going to get interesting because we're going to be able to start picking off their creatures. Especially if they only have one Lord on the battlefield. And given the amount of cards they're drawing and the amount of cards in their hand, I feel like we're only really going to get one Lord every turn. Looks like our opponent's going for a non-creature. A non-creature card in their sideboard, sorry. Dismember. Alright, well, it is what it is. We draw more land. Brutal. Just brutal. It's really why I had to increase the threat count or the finisher count here. It's just we need more ways to close out games, especially against aggro decks. Luckily our opponents is also short on gas, but that's not an excuse. We're still managing pretty well given the circumstances. We're able to remove quite a bit of their lords. We draw a redundant Blood Moon. It's really not what I want to see. Echoing Truth. Yeah, that was bound to happen. Something's getting piled in. Another Master of the Pearl Trident. So now they're going to swing in for a bunch of damage. Opponent decides to keep one creature up, which is interesting, other than their Master of the Pearl Trident. So let's see what we draw. Alright. Probably the second worst card you can draw at the moment. Now in theory here I should have just fetched first. Just to make sure we don't draw any more lands or reduce the chances of drawing lands. Luckily we don't draw land, we draw Pulse of Marasa. So I'm doing some math here because we're going to gain life, but we have to fetch first. Well, we don't have to fetch, but actually no, we do have to fetch. We have to fetch and it's going to be painful because we have to cast Pulse of Marasa and then cast Huntmaster of the Fells at the same time in the same turn. So this is what's going to be brutal about it. It's going to make it come close. Still doing the math here to see if we can win. So I fetch. I have to go for, yeah, another island. We have Arkham's Astrolabe, so that actually works in our favor because now we can convert at least one of those lands to green so that we can cast Huntmaster this turn. We gain some life, and then let's see. So that's interesting. I decide to go with Blood Moon first. So I guess the idea here is Blood Moon first. We'll survive at least one swing. And cast Huntmaster next turn. It makes sense because we're turning off Mutavault. So they can only come in for so much damage. And they're not going to attack. Well, they could attack with their Master of Pearl Trident because Island Walk. But it doesn't actually work for Master of Pearl Trident himself. So that was the right play to have. We cast Huntmaster again. And we wait. Another Dismember. Alright. Our opponent really wants that Huntmaster dead. But we get our Wolf token at least. And we're going to attack in because they're definitely not going to block. So depending on what they draw here, this could either be a painful turn or not. Kind of bummed that Huntmaster was answered with Dismember each time. Alright, so probably a Lord of Atlantis is my guess. Nope. Just another Master of the Pearl Trident. Alright. So in come their 3 creatures. That's pretty painful. Can't do much for blocking. Another land, and at this point it's concession time. Yeah. At least I would have conceded. I'm already tired of seeing it. I suppose the threat here is, would they block? I had to try. They did block. Let's go to game 3. So that was really unfortunate. We drew too many lands. Way too many lands. I don't think the deck has too many lands in it. But it's brutal when you have, 3, 4 turns, 5 turns of land, and no answers. Hey, this is what variance is, but I mean, what are you gonna do? Looking at our options here, there's nothing really that we need to bring in. I could go back and decide to have more creatures, more permission, and remove some of our other cards, but I feel like what we brought in is pretty much necessary. So potentially bringing back more Force of Negation and removing Remand. It looks like here I just, being on the play, I wanted to have more counter magic available for their non-creature spells that they run many of, including Dismember. So the starting hand is pretty good. We don't have direct removal, but it is a potential turn 3 Blood Moon. And we have some counter magic as well. I wouldn't say it's the strongest starting hand we have, but I feel as a game 3, it's sufficient. We have a lot there. Alright. That's going to resolve. End of turn. We want to cast our Ice-Fang. Draw a card. Beautiful. So, as we do, we're going to go for a red source here. Blood Moon. Yep. All the usual. We'll keep Ice-Fang up just in case they decide to attack. I don't think they will. Blood Moon this early on. They only have 1 blue source. Cavern of Souls is useless here, thanks to Blood Moon. Yeah, Lord of Atlantis is not coming down. Unfortunately, buddy. This might make this game pretty quick. Lightning Bolt, beautiful. Euro makes sense. Hopefully draw land, which is funny to say given the first two games we had, but that's okay. We do have 2 Force of Negations. They're not going to get any non-creature spells down, that's for sure. They get their second island, which is pretty important for our opponent. Luckily, next turn, when we untap, we'll be able to remove one of their lords. We get our land. We kill one of their lords. And we can counter... Oh, Force of Negation. Okay, we could win this match, so I'm not too concerned. I'm just going to guess I used Force of Negation and I gave up my... Oh, alright. That's interesting. I guess this makes sense. Because we can't actually use... Force of Negation on our turn. I forgot about that. So, Archmage's Charm makes sense. Alright, they're going to transmute. Yep, they're definitely drawing to look for more threats. And let's see what they get, if anything. Spreading Seas. Doesn't really matter. But I feel like I want to counter it anyway. Yeah. Yeah, and they give up. They weren't going to get anywhere. We had them. So game 1 and game 3, you know, we won the game. I feel like game 3 was going to be the fastest. We just had a good hand. We had good draws. We weren't just flooding into lands. And we just had answers for them. Blood Moon each game, which I'm sure was frustrating for our opponent because it just shuts off their lands that they really need. Cavern of Souls to stop our counter spells. Mutavault to stop extra threats. And yeah, it was just a bit brutal for them. Game 2, they just had all the answers. We were really light on finishers, which is a problem with the earlier versions of Temur Snow Control that I was playing at this point. And yeah, it was just difficult to deal with. But I think overall we have a lot of tools at our disposal to deal with explosive decks like Merfolk. And I think we handled ourselves pretty well here given the circumstances. In newer versions of this deck, I am playing some more threats like Klothys, and I'm even trying out Keranos. And those cards would definitely close out games much more quickly. And they're in addition to the threats I already have. So Huntmaster of the Fells, Ice-Fang, and Euro. And I suppose Snapcaster as well if we're going to go on Snapcaster beats. So I hope you enjoyed this match. It's the first one I posted of Temur Snow Control. I have more I want to record commentary on and post. If you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up. If you enjoy my content, please subscribe. I would appreciate it. It helps me know that you want to see more, and it helps grow the channel as well. Thanks, and have a good one.